Shields up, weapons online. Target designated.
Nuclear launch detected. Clear under attack.
Prepare to die.
Imaging completed.
This is it, boys and girls. The fifth set. My voice might be a bit gravelly because between sets I was still laughing and I choked on my water quite a bit. Oh. Luckily I didn't spew it all over my computer or anything. But this is it. Set 5, the deciding game. The winner of this moves into the finals. Doesn't get much more high stakes than that. And as I said, Aztec is going to be our double map for the day. We're going back to Aztec, which didn't work out too well for Fantasy in that first set. But knowing Fantasy, he probably has a different wacky strategy prepared, a second one prepared for this map. God, it's hard to tell with Fantasy. Battle cruisers operational. Shields up, weapons online. I hope we see more BCs. I wouldn't put it past Fantasy. I mean, he's come up with such wacky stuff already. Oh, I can't wait. Here we go. This is it. The deciding game. Except down at the 5 o'clock position in green is Fantasy. That means down at the 8 o'clock position in beige is Calm. Oh. Damn you, Fantasy, and your battle cruisers making me laugh so much. But this is it. One game to rule them all. 9 rings were given to the race of men, which I guess would be Terran. 7 rings were given to Zerglings, or something. I don't think they could actually wear rings on their claw-like hands. Anyway. Yeah, I expect to see some pretty similar play from Calm on this map. Since we have sunken mains on Aztec, I think lurkers are so effective, especially if you can sneak them in there. It keeps the Terran player from moving up with reinforcement medic marines to help get the surround on the lurkers. And Fantasy is actually walling off inside of his main again. So he could be going for the same strategy. Could be going for the exact same strategy. But either way, I think we're going to see the refinery first from Fantasy. And that's half the battle for Calm. I mean, Calm has seen that early refinery every single game in this series so far. So he knows that it's a pretty good bet that Fantasy's going to go for it again. And that is important information when playing a Terran player. When you know they're going to tech up highly, you can adapt your build, you can throw down your Hydralist in earlier, get ready for the onslaught from 2-port Wraith or something, but Calm's already going out, going to throw down his hatchery at his natural expansion. He's moving out in the wrong direction with his Overlord, but he was kind of going into the middle too. Yep, there's the early refinery, as I've come to expect from Fantasy. He is going to go for early Vulture harassment. I mean, hey, he knows his strengths. He knows his strengths, and that is Vulture harassment. But he's got to get out a more substantial force. Man, there's a lot of people in the audience today. Packed in the audience. Some standing room only in the back, it seems. But yeah, this series has been worth it. This series has been fantastic. This has definitely been one of the best series of the OSL, and we haven't even seen this last game yet. This could be the best one of the whole series. We'll have to find out. The Fantasy is I think he was mining with 3 SCVs on that refinery. Of course, it's going to be much more difficult for Calm to spot an early refinery or not. He doesn't see an early Marine. He sees that the barracks is pumping 1 Marine, but that's all the information he has. And since Fantasy is walled in, and since he has such a history of going for factory first, I think we're going to see the Hydralist Den pop up for Calm very quickly. Very, very soon. But Fantasy is coming in there. He's going to get an earlier scout this time on what Calm is doing coming in here. He doesn't see the Hydralist Den yet, but I think we're probably going to see that. No, Calm is going to try to fend off with mutas, it seems. He's building his lair. Back down to 1 SCV on that gas, so Fantasy, is he going to go for the same kind of starport build as he did in his first set. I mean, that first set didn't work out because he didn't have enough units to fight back lurkers. Lurkers are so effective on this map. So I'd say expect that from Calm, maybe after a Mutalisk opening, because he just threw down his lair. Yeah, Fantasy's going for the same build as he did in set 1. This is kind of stubborn for Fantasy, actually, because Calm already knows how to counter it with fast lurkers. Fantasy is banking on the fact that Calm is not going to go for the same thing as he did in the first set. That's a dangerous assumption. But if he can keep that scouting away, it might work out for him. And building a command center like this is such a greedy build for a Terran player, but it works out so well if you can keep it up, keep it from being harassed. I mean, either way, Fantasy's going to have a tough time fighting whatever comes his way from Calm. Calm trying to get rid of that SCV Scout. The SCV Scout's going to stay in here long enough to see the next building, which is the Spire. Spire coming down for Calm. So he's going to start off with some Mutalisk harassment. Or at least try to anyway. It's probably going to switch into lurkers as he did in the last set. The armory coming up for Fantasy. Oh, Fantasy, what are you doing? Armory, I don't see the starport, so I don't think it's going to be Valkyries. I think we're going to see Goliath, pure mech build from Fantasy. Pure mech. Wow. It's so rare to see these days. I've mostly just seen it from Fantasy, to be honest. I think the last time I saw it used was Fantasy v Hydra on Pathfinder. But Fantasy's going to float over that command center soon. He's building his second factory, so this is a Goliath build from him. He's going for a straight-up mech, and I am looking forward to this one. Because I haven't seen straight-up mech work since Fantasy used it against Hydra on Pathfinder. And Pathfinder is a way different map than this one. I think it is easier to use a mech build on Pathfinder. Sorry. Still the battlecruiser making me cough there, but okay, it looks like Calm has a complete wall in. He's going to make sure that there's not going to be a Vulture run by. This is smart of Calm, actually. And he's probably going to end up using one of those buildings at the front, too. Fantasy's just waiting there, too. He's waiting. He's like, I know you're going to cancel one of these buildings. Which one are you going to cancel? And once he sees it cancel, he's going to try to run through. But Calm, since he started with mutas, he might not need to cancel all of his buildings at the front. Fantasy is floating off his engineering bay, actually. Yeah, there is a hatchery morphing in the front, so we are not going to see a cancel from Calm of those buildings. He's going to block himself in a bit, especially if he morphs lurkers inside of his natural expansion. He's not going to be able to get those out, but he's going to be okay as far as it goes right now. This is being scouted now, the build being scouted by Calm. He sees the Goliath, so he knows that now is probably a good time to attack with his mutas, because mutas can really, really kill Goliath as long as you keep away from the turrets and catch the Goliaths when they're not at critical mass, when there's not a lot of them. There's only 3 on the ground right now, and that's just right for the picking if Calm could sneak in there and snipe one of these Goliaths before the Terran boosters come up. So he's coming in here trying to snipe the Goliath, gets down the Goliath count a bit. Now sniping 2 Goliaths, just sniping the last Goliath going down for Fantasy. He's trying to repair that, but not unsuccessful in doing that. Repairing the turret, though, getting all those SCVs around the turret. So the Mutalisks are taking a lot of fire, and Calm decides to back off. Since there are 2 turrets there protecting the front, he's going to back off and probably try to snipe some SCVs soon with some harassment. But he already got a lot of damage done. I mean, the strength of a mech build is grouping up a lot of units, keeping them together, and he's already grinded down the Goliath army quite a bit by sniping 3 of the Goliaths. But okay, Calm still hanging around, going to try to take his 3rd base now and keep off the Vulture harassment. The Vulture harassment's probably going to be a lot to deal with. Knowing Fantasy, he's going to continuously send out Vultures. But Calm should be okay as long as he hovers between all of his bases with his Mutalisk. Oh, the drone being sniped. And I think that Calm's strategy right now is to go out, well, try to go out anyway, and throw down as many bases as possible. Because he already threw down his 3rd, and he was going up with another drone to throw down his 4th. And this is the best counter to a mech build, is to just expand everywhere. Because a mech Terran has to stay together. They have to attack 1 base at a time. So if you have bases everywhere, it won't even actually matter if you lose one of them, because you'll have more all over the place, continuously pump Hydras and Mutas. Got to get that combo going. But the longer the game drags on, the stronger that Mech can become, especially once you get those upgrades. When Mech has 3 upgrades, 3 armor, 3 attack, it's almost unstoppable for a Zerg player. There are very few options that a Zerg player has. Aside from maybe Queens, I've seen Hydra use that effectively against a Mech build. But that's very instanced. It's very difficult to pull off, and I don't think we're going to see it from Calm. But the third factory on the way for Fantasy, so he's going to work straight up into a Goliath army and then probably supplement it with tanks. And once he has his tanks, he's probably going to push out, try to take his third base, because this is a very demanding build for Terran as well. Terran have to take that third base a little bit quicker than they would normally if they're going for standard medic and marine. But there's a starport already from Fantasy 2. That's probably going to be for science vessels and maybe some vulture drops, if there are any vultures left. But the fourth base coming up for Calm, I see he's morphing that already at the 10 o'clock. So Calm is playing this game right so far, and he's completely blocked inside from Vulture harassment. So Fantasy's, if he wants to get Vulture harassment from this point on, he's probably going to have to use dropships to do it. But Calm hovering around, he's running into the Goliaths, which do have the Terran upgrade now, the range upgrade for those Goliaths. So that's going to hurt any kind of potential harassment from Calm. So I don't think the Calm's going to be able to harass anytime soon, which is a problem, because if you can't harass a Mech Terran, they build up very quickly. But okay, Fantasy trying to lay some mines all over the place at potential new bases that Calm might try to take. But Calm has saturated all 4 of his bases, probably going to move out soon for a 5th. And he's grouping up all of his overlords. He might be going for a drop soon enough, actually, because he has his Sloverlords just going down the map together. But Fantasy being annoying, he snipes 1 drone, but that's it. So Calm has done a good job at grouping up Hydras by his vulnerable bases. His main and natural aren't really vulnerable at the moment because of the complete block at the natural expansion, but this could be very difficult for Calm to deal with now that Fantasy's moving out. He has a drop ship, and he's going to drop 4 vultures probably into the main. So Calm has grouped up Hydralists at each of his bases except for his main. I don't think he has anything inside of his main, so you got to use his Mutalisk to fend this off. And now he knows about it, though, so he ran all of his drones, so he's probably not going to take too many drone kills. Of course, I could be speaking too soon as Fantasy, looking around for another opportunity to snipe some units. Unsuccessful in doing that, but he has speed upgraded vultures. He's got to try to come in here at the natural expansion, snipe some more drones. Oh, it's a drone slaughter. So many drones going down. So that was a successful harassment from Fantasy as he groups up the rest of his Mech army in the middle. Of course, he's still only at 2 bases. He's going to have to take his third pretty quickly, I think. Now that Calm is moving down with a huge amount of troops. He is moving down. It looks like he's rally pointed everything to one location. He has all of his Hydras and all of his Mutas, and he's going to try to push through the front. Now that he has speed upgraded Overlords, that's going to help with the mines, too. The mines being laid around the natural expansion. So Calm is going to try to do this with this attack. Oh, Calm, got to pay attention a little bit more and snipe those mines as he finds them. But he does have those Overlords there to see the mines. And now he's going to try to push the front. Is he going to try? This would be difficult. He's waiting for a few more reinforcements before he focuses in. But if he attacks with his Hydras and his Mutas at the same time, I think he might be able to do it. Focus on the tanks with the Mutas. Focus on everything else with the Hydras. And I think this will be a successful attack. Here he is coming right now. There are the mines. They're in the way, though. So he is going straight for the tanks with those Mutas. Sniping the first tank. There are a few more tanks in the back, though. A Radiate from a defensive matrix from Fantasy. Sorry, on one of the remaining tanks at the back. And Calm is doing a good job pushing the front, but doesn't quite have enough troops. He is coming down with reinforcements, though. Very smart from Calm. Pushing it at the exact same time those reinforcements would pop up. So a completely aggressive attack from Calm, and Calm is pushing this thing all the way into the natural expansion. Fantasy has built another command center, getting ready to take his third base, but it could be a little bit too late. Now, he has his SCVs at the front to act as meat shields, but Calm, if he pushes this, if he keeps being aggressive, I think he can take this game. But he's waiting for troops. He's waiting for a few more Hydralists before he pushes the front, but that could spell doom for him now that more tanks are sieging in the back. With those siege tanks there, this is going to be extremely difficult attack to pull off. But Calm could also go another route. He could go for the route of denying the third base, which is probably what he's doing. Since there is a command center there not floating anywhere, Calm is going to try to deny that third base as he builds up bases of his own. He hasn't taken his fifth base yet. He probably should consider putting that down quickly. But he's going to try to do his best to deny that third base from Fantasy. If he can do that, he can pretty much dismantle this build from Fantasy, because this build requires a lot of minerals, a lot of gas. So Fantasy is actually laying mines behind his main. He's anticipating a drop, actually, from Calm, which I don't think is coming. I didn't see any Overlords grouping up for a drop. So it looks like Fantasy's star sense might be a bit off, but he's just playing carefully, making sure that Calm can't do anything sneaky like that. So if Calm does go for a drop inside the main, it would be disastrous, dropping on top of those mines. But Fantasy is moving out. He has quite a few tanks, and he's going to try to take his third base by force. So Calm is actually pushing forward. I think that was a mistake. I think he just left his Hydralisk out there without putting them on hold or anything, and they just went straight for the tanks. But now Calm grouping up even more Hydras, put down his Queen's Nest, actually. And he still hasn't taken his fifth base yet. He's just grouping up units, trying to deny that third base as long as he possibly can, as he's waiting for probably Defiler tech to get out there. Plagues on a mech army works so well. Unless you have SCVs running all over the place repairing, it will destroy your mech army. So that is what Calm is working up to, but he's got to get some more troops out on the ground, and he's got to put down his fifth base soon to support all of this. Because Fantasy is floating over his third base, and he's building another command center, his fourth command center, to float that somewhere else too, chasing off all the rest of the Hydras. So yeah, Fantasy is trying to make himself a presence in the middle of the map. He's going to try to take the middle, lay mines everywhere, and establish dominance in the middle of the map with this giant mech army. Let me check the upgrades. We have +1 Spine for Calm, probably working on his Carapace upgrade too. I'd say Carapace is more important than Spine versus Mech. And I think it's +2 armor or +2 attack from Fantasy. I'm going to say attack on that Mech army. Couple more hatcheries being built by Calm. And he has a Hydros back there to get rid of that Vulture harassment. The Vulture snipes one of the drones, but that's not going to be a huge deal as long as Calm noticed it and throws a third drone on that gas. He doesn't need a whole lot of gas with this. Oh, man, the mines dragging in. He kind of biting his lip there like, ah, crap, I should have sent Overlord out first. But now with mines everywhere, he's going to have Overlords positioned all over the map. He's going to have them at very strategic positions, which I think he's doing anyway. I see the dots kind of spreading out in the map now, trying to make safe passage for the rest of the Hydras. More Hydras die to a mine there, it seems. But Fantasy's mech build becoming stronger by the second. He doesn't have a second armory. He's only working from one. So that probably means... Oh, Queens! Queens coming in from Calm. He's going for Hydra's Queen build. Wow. And the last time I saw Hydra go for the Queen build was against Fantasy on Pathfinder, and it didn't work out. But Hydra has made it work out before. Oh, we're going to see spawn broodlings of the tanks. And that is what Queen is used for in this type of build against a mech army. But I'm surprised that Calm hasn't taken his fifth base yet. This is very strange from him. Now that Fantasy is taking his fourth, he's going to be tied up in bases. That is not what Calm wants to happen. Even with broodlings out there to snipe those tanks, it's still going to be a nightmare to fight back this mech army without bases all over the map. This is a strange play from Calm. I'm not exactly sure what his game plan is, but he is going for Queens. It looks like he's been copying every other Zerg player as he plays today. Just kind of... assimilating the rest of the Zerg players on his way up here. He's using Hydralisk Queen build. He used Jadong's double 4-pull strat. I'd love to see this work out. If he wins this fifth set and goes into the finals with the Queen build, that would go down in history, man. Absolute history, but he does not have his fifth base. He's going to be working with a dwindling economy compared to Fantasy, because Fantasy has his fourth up and running now. Up and running at the inside 5 o'clock. Yeah, he has that there. He has a bunch of turrets protecting it as well. So Fantasy, I'm afraid that Fantasy's mech army might be too much for Calm to handle. Calm is going to have to do something very creative, like a drop strategy. Of course, going for spawn broodlings, that's creative in its own way. Coming down with one queen. I don't think he should reveal this queen this early in the game. All being scanned, Fantasy spots the queen, so he knows there's going to be a queen build no matter what. But I'm not sure what this queen's motive is. Maybe just to get some scouting, maybe to a parasite detect something. But the queen's being forced away. All parasite detected Goliath, and Fantasy kills it. He takes down the Goliath. It's like, I'm sorry, you have a parasite, man. I got to do what I got to do. But nothing but Hydralisk out right now for Calm. He kind of needs that double Hydralisk and Mutalisk switch at this stage in the game. But since he has his, oh, here come the queens. So many queens coming down. For Calm, he's going to try to do the spawn broodling of those tanks and attack with his Hydralisk at the same time. He's going for a huge attack soon. But Fantasy has an excellent tank positioning, so I'm not sure if this is completely going to be worth it from Calm trying to position himself over here with Spawn Broodling. He Spawn Broodling's a bunch of tanks back here. 3 tanks, Spawn Broodling 4. But I don't see anything else. He kind of boxed himself into a corner. A lot of Spawn Broodling, getting rid of most of the tanks. So Calm might be able to take this engagement. He is pushing in, but he doesn't have any reinforcements coming down. More defensive matrix from Fantasy at the front. So the Hydralisk army grinded down by Calm. The lack of reinforcements here really hurt him, but he killed pretty much all of the tanks, but no some reinforcement tanks. A lot of reinforcement tanks coming in from Fantasy now, and Fantasy pushing through the front, through the middle of the map. And I still don't see another base from Calm. So Calm was trying to end this from 4 bases, which is really going to come back to bite him here. Really going to come back to bite him because the Mech army is just going to roll him now. Oh, man, this is brutal. Absolutely brutal. Fantasy. Oh, Fantasy. He's going to take this. Nothing left for Calm in the middle. That's going to be it from him. There's the GG. From Calm. What an awesome series. I can't believe the quality of that series. That was just great. Great. We got to see everything. Battle cruisers, queens. I didn't see ghosts, but I have to wait till the finals. I'm sure we're going to see some ghosts in the finals from Fantasy. That was spectacular. Great semifinal. And I like 5-set semifinals too. Calm played great, but not as great as Fantasy. Oh, this has been Nuke. In 1 week, we will have our second semifinal. Stork versus Modesty. I get to pace nervously until then. But this has been Nuke. See you guys later for more commentaries.